we could get into so many things with this. I don't know how many topics we're going to get to today because to me, what happened Saturday, I mean, this is one of the major sports stories of my life.
Yeah.
You can hate the NBA and make fun of not watching it all you want. That's fine. There's not much precedent for this. This isn't like even Kareem. People are like, well, what about Kareem to the Bucks to the Lakers? Kareem told him straight up, I don't want to live here. I want to go back to LA.
Yeah, he wanted to go.
We've had a lot of guys that have demanded trades over the years that have wanted out. That's happened forever in the NBA.
I heard because I tried to listen to as many things like Maverick-related things and national things, and Bill Simmons like, this was like when Paul George. And I'm like, we kind of knew Paul George is kind of on the block. We didn't see Clippers maybe coming for that deal.
That was the only other one that stood out to me because I remember that night being crazy. I was reminded of that night because that was, I can't remember if it was before or after Kawhi had signed.
It was after.
So it was like the Kawhi signing, you're like, oh my God, he's going to the Clippers. And then like 3 hours later, it was like in the middle of the night, all of a sudden Paul George got dealt.
But we kind of had an inkling he was going to get moved. OKC had just gotten damed. And, there was kind of maybe, what are they going to do? At least that's my recollection of it. The Clipper thing was a surprise, but it was like, he got traded didn't shock me.
Yeah. Well, also, no offense to Paul George, but...
Yeah, you're Paul George.
He's not quite Luka Doncic.
And the Lakers and the Mavericks agreed upon a trade where the Lakers receive Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris, and a and a pick.
A future first-round pick.
And the Dallas Mavericks acquired Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the Lakers' 2029 first-round pick. Danny Ainge, who many have speculated, I've talked with people locally, and then you hear it nationally, everybody was like, Danny wants to go in on Luka in case Luka's ever mad. Yeah, Danny Ainge got in on the Luka trade. He got Jalen Hood-Schifino and 2 second-round picks for some reason out of this deal.
That was the funny thing for me is not to give him too much credit, but it was just like, of course that was Danny Ainge just picking up a couple of scrap heap second-round picks. Like, why not? Let me just jump in and get something out of this deal.
I follow a Jazz fan who I think lives more locally here, and so he keeps up with the Blazers, and I appreciate it. Yesterday he was like, these Danny Ainge trades have kind of sucked, and everybody acts like they're just amazing every time he does something. They're not. And I kind of laughed that the Utah Jazz are terrible. But Luka Doncic, Dallas said, thanks for everything. You're 25 years old. You're in the prime of your career. We think Anthony Davis is just as good as you. And the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers for AD.
I mean, we joked about it in the opening segment, but when you have a trade that is reported in the immediate reaction from almost everybody, the funny thing was I wasn't on social media, I wasn't watching the end of the Blazer game, so I didn't see this until you texted, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then I scrolled on to Twitter, and as I jumped onto Twitter, I'm like catching up on my timeline. The amount of people who just said that Shams was hacked, like that, they wouldn't even entertain the idea that this trade was real. Everybody for like a 5-minute stretch on the internet bubble of NBA and sports basketball or sports world thought the only excuse for this is that he was hacked. Somebody hacked Shams' account, tweeted out that Luka Doncic got traded. That's the only way that this can make any sense. And he then had to follow up whatever it was 5 or 10 minutes later and say, no, this trade is real. Here's who's going where. And our heads collectively exploded. When you have a trade that shakes up the collective soul of the sports world that much that you just think there's no way that this is real, it tells you how shocking that it was.
I mean, we're going to get to the audio because Nico Harrison had a pregame press conference as the Mavericks lost by 43 yesterday to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, they didn't play a lot of guys.
No, to be fair, they didn't have many guys in their lineup.
But
it was pretty hilarious to see that be their first game after the Luka trade. I think the halftime score was like 62-20.
I mean, this was my takeaway because this broke, by the way, when ESPN2's SportsCenter was happening. And I mean no disrespect by saying this. There was 2 anchors. I've seen the gal. I hadn't seen the guy. I had no idea who they were. And I kind of like was excited and felt bad for him at the same time.
You got to break this whole thing down. Good luck.
You guys have the best opportunity. Right, you're the first reaction nationally to have this.
Because I think Gonzaga St. Mary's was still going on, if I'm not mistaken, on ESPN.
And so they had Perk and they had Stephen A. And then they got Windhorst. And it's just like bam, 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 bam. Here's the entire Sports Center. And so here was Brian Windhorst. This was also how I viewed this, and Brian Windhorst, his takeaway of the Mavericks trading Luka Doncic.
I know that there's a temptation to focus on the Lakers here because they potentially just acquired the next great Laker, and it's an amazing story when you look at the history of their franchise. But the story of the moment and what my phone is filling up with is the reaction to the Dallas Mavericks making this move. I had an all-star, current NBA All-Star text me and say, do you know how much the Mavericks must hate Luka? I mean, this is what they're talking about in the league. I've had, veteran coaches text me and say they can't believe they saw this. They just have never seen anything like this. And Luka is 25 years old, okay? He is under contract for several more years, and this summer he is already eligible for a Supermax. I find it completely unbelievable that he would not sign that contract. This was not done because the Mavericks didn't think Luka wanted to be there. Even if he didn't sign that contract, you would have a whole year to figure it out. This was done because the Mavericks didn't think that going forward with Luka was best for their franchise. Think about that statement. A 25-year-old who's been first-team All-NBA the last 5 years and carried them to the finals a few months ago. And they said, we want out of the Luka Doncic business, and we want out of it now.
Yeah, pretty crazy there. Windhorse on a sick beat. The Supermax, by the way, that he was going to be eligible to sign was $345 million.
You know what that was going to break down to per year? Now, I know it goes up and escalates and all that. On average,
it was 70-ish, right?
$69 million a year. Nice. On average for a 6-year, I think it would have been a 5-year, $345 million deal.
I'll try to see the All-NBA. I saw this yesterday. I have so much things in my brain. I should have wrote this note down, but he is I think he's one of 3 active players that has made All-NBA 5 times. Can you name the other 2? This actually stunned me.
That tells me that they're not going to be obvious names. If it's going to stun you, or that it's only been 3 guys that have done it.
Well, yeah, that.
Yeah. I mean, LeBron has to have.
Yep.
And Jordan?
No, active.
Active. Sorry, I thought you said all time. Yeah. Active. Who would have been the other one? Steph? It's got to be Steph. No.
Steph Curry's only done it 4 times in his career.
All-NBA 4 times.
First team All-NBA.
Kevin Durant?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. KD, LeBron, and Luka.
This dude's 25.
25 years old.
He's had this 5 years in a row.
How many years has he even been in the NBA? He came over when he was, 19?
Yeah, I think he's been in the NBA for 6 years. I mean, it's just and then also we found out from ESPN, this is the first in-season trade for 2 guys who were just all first-team NBA in the season the next year.
That's pretty remarkable.
It's not only historical from his age, his accomplishments so far, and what AD is. We've just never had a trade like this.
No. And this is everybody's going to try and come up with comparisons of when was the last time something this shocking happened. Big time names have been dealt for a long time in the NBA. This is a sport and it's a league where guys demand out and they want to go play elsewhere. We've seen that. And big time players change teams in free agency and trades. To have one completely out of the blue, of all the insider reporting and all the scuttlebutt and all the rumors that you get in this league of this guy wants out, this guy's disgruntled, this guy's looking at this landing spot, there wasn't a crumb out there about this. It just was a bomb that exploded on Saturday night, and it took us forever to I still haven't even wrapped my mind around it. And seeing him play in a Laker uniform for the first time is going to be an absolute trip.